You know my
Welcome to the pickle hour.
Water and salt separately, as God intended. You know why we can't drink salt water?
You ever drinking a liquid IV before?
No.
They're actually really good. They hydrate really well.
Welcome to the Pickle Hour, where we talk about pickle juice for too long.
Pickleback shot, bro. This shit was so gross. I was the only one at the table. I was like, this is nasty. Or it's like, no, this is so good. I'm like, are you deranged? I must be the only enlightened person on the fucking planet, apparently.
Who the fuck drinks pickle juice like as?
Please leave your opinions on pickle juice in the comments.
That's what I was about to say. I was gonna be like, YouTuber, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and comment about whether or not you like pickleback
You know what
shots.
I'd rather do? Just take a shot of whiskey.
No,
it's
just
not
eat
gonna...
a pickle. Just eat a fucking
No,
pickle.
I don't want to just eat a pickle.
You ever had fried pickles?
Yeah, they're delicious.
Why am I saying on your phone?
You know why they're delicious? Because they're fried. And you dip them in, like, a Zax sauce kind of mixture.
What if you have a fried pickleback shot?
You're gonna fry the juice?
I'd rather have a french fry. Not a fried pickle.
You just don't like pickles because they're cucumbers.
I love cucumbers. What the fuck does that have to do with
would.
it? Why did you try to throw shade at me for not liking cucumbers? You're throwing shade at me for liking cucumbers. Pick a struggle.
Batman.
Riddle me this bat shit.
Riddle me.
What's long, hard, and has cum in the middle? Go ahead, answer, Batman. Bat shit. Answer the riddle, bat shit. Hi, welcome back to Higurashi Let's Play episode 604. Today, I'm stuck in this purgatory with 3 schizophrenic personalities of mine, and they won't let me out.
Explosion sound in the right here.
Editor, add a pickleback shot.
Editor, add a man drinking a pickleback shot.
It's just gonna be me drinking a pickleback shot. That's all.
I'll send you a picture. Can you use that?
I mean, if you want. You don't want me to just take a pickleback shot and put it in the video? Because I can.
You should.
Editor, sniff my balls.
Editor, put a picture of my balls.
Hey, did you guys know that we're playing Higurashi?
Google, give me a picture of this man's balls.
There was nobody at the school, except for Pickles. I couldn't hear the playful voices of the children. This was the first time. See, instead of Tyler being done with me, I think Brooklyn's done with me now. I'm slowly working around the room. See, I'm like, Dylan, I'm time to annoy you next.
Piss off, Dylan.
This was the first time I'd seen the school with such a lack of human presence. Still, I quieted my breath and looked around, not wanting to be unprepared. It had gotten darker outside, but it was almost like my eyes could see more clearly now. I can see more clearly now, the rain is gone. Thank you, me. Good job. Proud of you. That was good. That was good. Tyler won't keep it in, but that was good. I made absolutely sure of my safety, then walked to the heavy construction machine I'd hidden behind the metal bat. What?
I hid them behind.
Then walked to the heavy construction machine I'd hidden the metal bat behind. I had a tinge of worry, a premonition, that someone had found the bat and hidden it somewhere else as a prank. If that happened, would I take that as an opportunity to desist? If it really wasn't there, then the sensation of chilled metal. It was still here where I left it. It hadn't run away. Satoshi hadn't run away. I like to think kind of like Plank. He has Satoshi's face drawn on the bat.
Don't read the next page until I tell you to.
Interesting, okay. He waited here patiently for me.
Go ahead. Hold on, let me make sure. Hold on. No.
Is it not yet?
Go ahead.
Sorry for the wait, Satoshi. It's been a long time coming. You prepared for this? Through the metallic touch, Satoshi grins at me in my mind. That's what I should be asking, you know. I did this last year already. You should be more worried about yourself.
Now. Oh, go ahead, page.
Oh, read this one?
Yeah.
Bitchin', Satoshi! Let's show him a bad time. Satoshi's bat got lighter and lighter, and fit into my hands like it was being absorbed. It didn't feel wrong to swing this. I could move it around so naturally it was like an extension of my own right arm. Of course it felt like that. Satoshi and I were holding one bat together. Isn't that a little homoerotic?
Why you gotta add homoism to everything? Just fucking
Two best
chill
friends
out.
sitting next to each other.
It's just
they're
a man
incredibly
inside of
gay.
a bat, and he's gripping it really hard with both hands, and he's gonna swing it around.
He's just gripping another man's rod.
That's all he's doing.
Fellas, is it gay to be a bat and be gripped by another man? Next, I would make the call to lure the man out. It wasn't a bad time for it. My friends were doubtlessly parading happily through the stalls. I hadn't considered where to make the call from. My house and Sadako's were pretty far apart. If I called from my house, I wouldn't make it. Couldn't I use the school phone? But, as I thought, the room was locked up and I couldn't get in. Shit. I'm so naive. You should have at least figured this part out. I couldn't call him. And just for that, was today all over? I'm sorry, Satoshi. And just as I cursed my own naivety, a miracle occurred. A bicycle came into the schoolyard. It was a familiar middle-aged man. Irie? Wait, who? The one from the Forest Service field office. Why? Wasn't today Sunday? Was he here to pick up something he forgot? Anyway, the forest officer went around back and felt around in his pockets, then unlocked the door and entered. The best possible coincidence, and it had to be Satoshi who saved me. The metal bat, through just my contact with it, told me this was a chance I couldn't allow to slip by. The sections for the forest office and the school were neatly separated. I felt the man head into the forest office storehouse, which wasn't so far in the back students weren't allowed into it. The door...
Which was
so far back. Fuck. The door didn't match its fittings well, so it didn't close all the way, and the gap in the door opened slowly as if to lure me in. I took a deep breath and went in. I tiptoed along, silently and stealthily, and made it into the teacher's lounge. There was only one place with a phone. As I held my breath in the teacher's lounge, I heard the Forest Service officer walking back over. Then, the back door clattered shut and was locked. I glanced out the window at the schoolyard and watched as the man got on his bike like nothing had happened and rode out the school gate. The school once again emptied, becoming deathly silent. I waited for a bit to make sure the silence was the real deal, then reached for the telephone on the principal's desk. I fished Sadako's house phone number out of my pocket. Yes, the number in the class directory for Sadako had been the one from their house now, where she lived with her uncle. I touched the dial with my fingers, and then thought for a moment about what to say exactly when he picked up. Despite how many times I'd gone over it in my head last night, now that I had my finger on the dial like this, it started to seep out of my mind like a cracked bucket leaking water. Simple would be best. More importantly, to say it straight, and not sound suspicious. I counted off 3 heartbeats and spun the dial. The call sound. Would Sadako's uncle pick up? Now, of all times, the hope that he wouldn't pick up, and the feeling of doom in the knowledge that I couldn't save Sadako if he didn't, whirled around in a vortex. Hello?
Hey,
Dylan.
Oh shit, it's my time.
ready to be New York?
Alright, Dylan, don't blow up my ears, okay?
You see that red bit?
Yeah.
If that line goes in there, you break the microphone.
Okay. Hello.
Okay, get a little bit.
Alright.
It has to be in the yellow.
Hello.
It was the voice of a grumpy man, like he had just woken up. He picked up.
Hello?
Say your name so I know you're Hojo, you asshole. It would be terrible if I got it wrong. Who else is gonna be living in his house?
He's just making sure he called the right house.
I made up my mind. I had all the initiative on my side. Here we go.
Change your voice. Just slightly, so he's like, it's Keiichi.
This is Shishiboni Okinomiya Police Station. Am I speaking to the Hojo residents? I think that's close enough. I was changing my voice, but did he really think I sounded like an adult?
Normal Keiichi sounds like more of an adult.
Would he believe I was the police?
Oh, yes. This is Hojo.
We currently have your daughter, Sadako Hojo, here with us.
What? Sadako? What did that brat do?
He fell for it. I could tell by how tense he was, he didn't doubt my words. I can explain the particulars once you have arrived here. Would you mind coming to the station right away?
Right now? I already took a bath myself, so I don't really want to go out like this, though.
What? You don't want to come because you already took a bath? Yes, right away.
Right away? Jeez, man. What the heck did Sadako do?
This guy woke up from a nap in a bath and is about to get beat to death.
King
At least he's
shit.
gonna die clean.
I'll explain once you get here. I'll be waiting. Thank you for your assistance.
1 second! I don't know where the police station is. Where am I going?
Are you fucking shitting me?
Yes, nowhere.
You moron? What the hell? The Okinomiya police station? I don't know where it is either.
All he has to do is just tell him to go the route that he has planned. He doesn't have to be right.
Aren't you from around here? Why don't you know that? A greasy sweat came over my body. Eventually, just as I was about to choke, he spoke.
Oh, next to the fire station, right? That's pretty far.
Thank goodness he remembered on his own. For me,
For you, Keiichi.
I didn't care where the police station was, so as long as he left his house to get there. Then we will all be waiting here.
Oh, wait! Who am I asking for once I get there? What is your name?
On top of that, he wanted to know my name? Oishi. Just say Oishi. Just leave your goddamn house already. Mayabiishi. Excuse me. That was close. I almost thoughtlessly told him my real name.
Really saved it there.
He's gonna beat him to death anyways, it doesn't matter!
I managed to change the last syllable of it, but I put the receiver down like I was running away. My fingers were trembling and I was soaked with a tepid sweat. I wasn't just nervous about the phone call. With that call, everything had been finally put into motion.
His only out is that he just shows up to the police station like an asshole and it was a crank call, right?
Yeah.
That's his only out at this point. He could just not kill him.
I left the school. It was locked before, but it was easy enough to open from the inside. But I couldn't lock it again after I left. In terms of being thorough, I wanted to lock it, but I couldn't waste time going back to the teacher's lounge and looking for the key. I needed to rush back as fast as I could and ambush him.
Damn, that was quick!
I zoomed back to the scene on my bike. If Sadako's uncle got out of town before I got there, everything would be over. He'd learned there was no one at the station named Mayabiishi, and things would get pretty messed up. As I returned at full speed, I passed a family wearing yukatas. They must have been on their way to the festival. Many people in Hinamizawa knew my face, though I didn't know theirs. Even just passing by them like this made me uneasy. But I didn't generally come around here, so those living in the area might not know much about me. That didn't matter right now. I needed to get back as fast as possible to control my breathing and to ambush the man. So, if Sadako's uncle is on, like, a motorcycle, how is he planning on, like, knocking him off?
Why not? How do you knock somebody off a motorcycle?
You hit him, but that's, like, a hard target to hit.
Yeah. In these back country roads right here? Well, look where he has to drive through.
Alright, that's true. I mean, shit, he's probably gonna fall just by driving, like. I hid my bike in a thicket and I picked up Satoshi's bat, which I'd just left hidden in the shade. And then I held my breath, waiting to see someone. I wondered if he still hadn't gotten here. Or maybe he went right out after the phone call and passed by here already. I couldn't figure out which it was, and set upon by an indescribable impatience. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. Even if he came here already, he'd pass by here on the way back, right? The end result would be the same. It wouldn't change the fact that he'd die. He'd probably be coming on his motorcycle. How would I stop him then? I figured it would be best to not think too hard and just hit him as he passed, or beat him off of his seat. The path was made of pebbles. If I hit him as hard as I could and made him lose his balance, he wouldn't be able to help falling. And then, the chorus of the Higurashi stopped. The sound of a bike approached from far away. I couldn't tell what sort of motorcycle it was from its sound, but I'd seen it parked before, so I'd know. It was getting rapidly closer. It was almost here. If he just went a little farther, he'd cross into that thicket and appear in front of me. I'd take a moment to make sure it was him. Then when I had, I'd put my plan into action. He's actually gonna do it. He's actually gonna do it. The motorcycle appeared. A few easily identifiable characteristics told me it was Sadako's uncle's bike without a doubt. Was it really him? Was it really Sadako's uncle? I wasn't making a mistake, was I? I looked at its characteristics again. He kills Satoshi, as we discussed.
On his way back home to save
Sadako. No! Yeah, and he kills Satoshi.
What's Toshi's bad?
Woo! Its color, shape, and most of all, the man's clothes and face. Those last feelings of hesitation, I did away with them. Sadako, now, your Nini will end it, okay? Closer and closer, the bike came closer. Let's go. Satoshi! Yeah.
Whoosh.
Whoosh? Who said yeah? Did he just say yeah? Was he just like, let's do it, Satoshi, and then just went, oh yeah, and then jumped out of the thicket?
Yeah, he's schizophrenic, like, replying to himself.
I jumped out of the thicket. I used my shoulders to basically tackle the uncle on the bike with all my might. Did it work? Uncle? Or is this Keiichi?
It's uncle.
He gave a dumb shout as his bike completely lost its balance. Finally, it fell, the bike scattering clouds of sand, and after spinning, it stopped. He's doing it! Her uncle, tossed to the ground, didn't understand what had happened, and groaned for a few moments crouched on the ground. It's time.
Half-Life breathing voice.
We've entered
You've entered the Luigi Final Smash.
We've entered the Keiichi come zone. My breathing started to become a little ragged. I think that's it, yeah. No, I couldn't have this emotion. Some weird secretion crossed through my brain and nearly made me hallucinate. Her uncle was groaning. Now was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. What was I doing? All the sounds in the world cut off. My mental chaos from a minute ago withdrew like a lie. I could feel the temperature in my head rapidly cooling down. The tension in my muscles all went away like the strings they had been attached to had been cut, and I let my hands dangle at my sides. It wasn't quite like exhaustion. Have you calmed down now? Keiichi Maebara? Do you need to remember again why things got to this point today? Scrape, scrape, I stepped over the pebbled path, taking one step, then another towards Sadako's uncle. The more I walked, the more my breathing calmed. The more I walked, the more I felt my body cooling, calming, chilling with frost. Yes, at this moment, this guy had lost permission to live. I had just rescinded it, so he mustn't stay in this world any longer. If he lived any longer, if Sadako's misfortune continued, it would be my responsibility for having let him live.
Having allowed him to live.
I could feel the cooling substance going through my whole body, even down to my capillaries. Her uncle was at my feet now, still on the ground like an idiot. I smiled coldly at how ridiculous he looked.
That hurt.
You just bang.
That's all it took for it to hurt. Sadako's heart hurt much more, and now you're gonna feel that. And with your life, I'll make up for her pain. I'm waiting for the thwack sound, and then I'm gonna scream. I erased all unnecessary information from my mind. I prioritized the murder of this man. Execute, execute, execute.
There's the music.
Not the penis music.
Oh no. Oh no! The Keiichi penis cum zone music. It's triggered a point of no return. Alright, boys. This is it.
This is it.
This is where the game ends.
Where the game begins.
Wham! Utterly calmly, I delivered my first strike to the back of his head. I wanted to get at the most effective spot, at least during that first moment I'd have to attack him while he was at his most defenseless. And if he was hit in the head, he'd cover his head. It was a defensive reaction all humans made, like machines. He used both hands to cover his head, so he couldn't pick himself off the heap he was in on the ground. 3? Like pounding a caterpillar into the dirt, I hit him all over and over. If he covered his head, I'd hit him in the side. If he covered his body, I'd go for his head. If he rolled over, I'd strike his feet, his knees, his elbows. I didn't care where anymore. By just delivering one blow after the other, I induced panic in him. I retained my overwhelming advantage, but I hadn't done nearly enough to deliver a fatal wound. Her uncle skillfully pulled himself off the ground and started to run like a fleeing rabbit. It wasn't a judgment he'd made after seeing my face and deciding whether to fight me. How is he,
Yeah.
he got his feet busted, his knees busted? How is this boy going?
He's not.
He's a unit.
They're not broken yet.
Do you know how hard it would fuck up your knee to be hit by a metal bat at full impact?
Do you know how much adrenaline would be going through your body when you start getting pummeled by a kid with a metal bat?
Fair? Alright, I'll give you it's not dysfunctional yet. That's fair. Fair. You win. I'll give it to you.
I always win.
Be smug. Right now, he was fleeing by instinct, just trying to escape from the threat that had presented itself. A counterattack from the more physically capable uncle was what I was most concerned about. He may run, but it wasn't all that unlucky. And now the odds were in my favor. The uncle didn't run towards people, but off the path and into the woods. How pleasant that he would run in a direction where nobody else was. He was fleeing into strange geography, like a rat that instinctually runs into tight spots over and over. Yes, he was no longer human. He was a rat. The blood vessels in my legs expanded, and my total oxygen supply increased. I lowered myself to gain the most explosive velocity I could. Without breathing, I became a wind-like shadow and dashed. I crossed the thickets, crushed dead tree branches underfoot, and drove through the woods like a bullet. He ran so cowardly, arms flailing as he went. After catching up to him, I didn't need so much as a blink off an eye to strike him again. My senses, mind, and body were all sharpened purely to kill this man. This was the first time I'd felt this. Well, this was the first experience I'd ever had killing someone. It felt natural continuing to do this for the first time. I'm not gonna become a psychopath killer, by the way.
I'm not gonna become.
I'm not going to become a psychopath killer, by the way.
Only once. Surely once.
And that meant I had this much talent for killing. Or perhaps the act of killing was so simple that anyone could do it. Kathunk. I didn't struggle or grow tired at all chasing the clumsy, fleeing uncle. No matter how much he ran, it was trying to get away from his own shadow. He couldn't get away from me. I could easily aim at his back, his shoulders, and his head even from this unnatural stance. Each time I struck him, he wailed in pain and pitifully begged for forgiveness, but it didn't disturb my mind. I was neither excited nor plagued by hesitation like before. I felt sharp. I felt like a carnivore. Of course, so did the uncle, who was trying to run away because he didn't want to die. He didn't want to be eaten like a herbivore running with all its might trying to get away. Despite all the attacks, despite all the hits, he kept on fleeing even without staggering. And despite the bad footing in the forest, he impressively never tripped over anything. But there was no need to admire that fact. It was simple proof that he was no more than an animal. If he was chased, he would run. If he was going to be killed, he would run. He bared his fangs at the weak, but couldn't oppose the strong whatsoever. He was lowly, vulgar.
Lily.
Gotta be Hallie.
Gotta be Holly.
A diminutive animal. Such a puny little creature had harmed Sadako. Scar after scar to her body and mind, deep wounds that might not ever go away as long as she lived. Hell. Oh.
Ooh.
I think that's Keiichi.
Whoa. My cold and calm emotions suddenly turned into bestial ones. My personality changed into something specialized for murder, purely to devour the diminutive animal before me. The uncle gave a puny little shriek, covered his head, and ran. I'm impressed by how much you can run. Dude.
He's gonna run into town.
He's running. We covered.
He's gonna
running
run
into the woods.
Oh.
He's gonna run into the next prefecture at this rate. Like, dude's gonna end up in Okinomiya.
I don't know if you've seen Gifu. It's like North Georgia.
That's tough. Goodbye. How's Keiichi gonna get him back to the hole?
He's literally in the Smoky Mountains.
How's Keiichi gonna get him back to the hole? Does he even need to get him back to the hole at this point if he's this far in the woods?
Smile.
Fine, run as much as you like. I will be your death. I will choose the moment at my leisure. Your legs will hurt, your lungs will feel about to burst, your head will hurt from the lack of oxygen. If you feel the pain has become worse than death, then by all means, stop at any time. Without turning back, suffocating on his terrors of the approaching death, he just ran shamefully onward. He ran, but he was chased, his head bashed with a metal bat, sweat and drool flying everywhere, blood clinging to him. From his mouth came the sounds of coarse, irregular breathing and high-pitched screaming that verged on crying. And pleas for forgiveness to someone I didn't know who. Each and every second was a second of atonement that I granted him. Now, run. The fall, then fall and moan and die. Where did you even crawl out of anyway? You were never here before. If you were never here, you never should have showed up. If you never showed up, our lives would still be fun and enjoyable. We would have gone to today's festival, waited for each other, and gone to the shrine laughing. So,
Yeah.
Keiichi, if like the curse is real, right? He's possessed by Oyoshiro right now.
Sure.
Like, without a doubt, you know. We would have been playing amongst the stalls right about now. Satoshi was Oyoshiro? Thoughts?
Funny.
Trying to get prizes from goldfish scooping, ring throwing, or target practice. Oh, whoops. We'd been browsing the strange food stalls.
Weed.
Weed. We'd be browsing the strange food stalls you only saw at festivals, trying to get prizes from goldfish scooping, ring throwing, or target practice. Mion would surely make it into a competition, and we, as a club, would have a grand time. And everyone would have been cheering for Rika-chan's dedication dance, and everyone would say how fun it was, and it would give us energy for days to come. Fun, enjoyable, and funny. Warm times spent with friends. And that would have happened. But it didn't. And now it's all smashed to pieces. There's no doubt that would be the world was like if you know.
There's no doubt.
There was no doubt that would be what the world was like if you never showed up. You were the obstacle, the mistake, the hearsay in that world. But I would correct that mistake now. I would erase you and make it so that last week never happened. Tonight was the Tatarigoroshi festival, the holy night where taking just one life was permitted in the name of Oyashiro-sama's curse. The purge? Ah, it looked like the Higurashi stopped crying at some point. When the Higurashi cried, everything would end. And the Higurashi silenced. Lowly one, the hour of atonement is at an end. The Higurashi have stopped their crying. Thus, it is the end. The end, the end, the end, the end! You don't have to run away anymore. Die with those dirty brains of yours smashed everywhere.
Whoa.
He did it.
Yeah.
He actually did it. Lightning and thunder struck like an explosion. It was so loud it shook the ground, and I smelled gunpowder. The response I got this time was clearly different from the one before. The metal bat crunched into the crown of his head. It was like the top of his head had caved in. The bat felt like it was biting him. It had been the final, killing attack that visited him, when I didn't overlook the opening he left as his knees gave out under him. I remained alert for a few moments, then thud, thud. I planted both knees in the ground and fell forwards, burying my head in the ground. I'd been holding back my ragged breathing, but now it all came out me like a dam bursting. My head was dizzy and light, and unable to maintain my balance, I leaned against a nearby tree. The uncle didn't try and guard his head any longer. After a disgusting sort of spasm, he stopped moving. Did I get him? Did I get him for sure?
There's a lot of monologuing.
It's all monologuing. It's literally all monologuing. Everything this chapter is monologuing.
I fought back my exhausted urge to fall over where I stood and drew towards him carefully, bat still at the ready. It was possible he was faking it and trying to wait it out. Should I check for a pulse? I realized right away, though, how unnecessary that would be. If I had thought he might be faking it, then I would just have to keep pummeling him until I was satisfied. I fought back my ragged breath again. And then I swung my bat far above and brought it down. Clunk. His body leaped like a bow, but he didn't try and cover his head. Then once again, I aimed for his head and swung. His reaction was the same this time. After spending a few moments making his head into mochi, the hits gradually started to feel different, and it started to spray a filthy dark red liquid everywhere. That was enough. It was definite now. I had absolutely killed him. There was no sense in accomplishment, nor one of regret. I didn't feel anger towards Sadako's uncle, nor pity towards Sadako herself. That's true. They're both Hojo. Instead, right now, I was feeling like my heart had been stolen by the downpour. It had begun to rain at some point, and how comfortable it felt. The rainwater drenched my body and dripped down to the ground. The excitement within me faded as the rain washed away the grime. In exchange, my shoes were so wet they made splashing sounds. And despite abusing Satoshi's bat like that, it wasn't bent very much. There were a few dents in it, probably from hitting the man, but nothing that would make it seem different than before. God bless. Instead, it had been stained with black, with red, with mud and blood. But that itself would be evidence. The one piece of evidence needed to prove that my delusions hadn't just been daydreams, and that I'd ended Sadako's uncle for all eternity. Alright, Keiichi, calm your mind. The time for passion is over. Now's the time to be as cold as ice. I needed to bury the body. But where was I? I'd simply followed the man as far as he ran into the darkness. I couldn't take a guess how far we'd run. It was already pitch black around us. The only light I had to go on was the very faint lights on the road a little further down. It was so dark out. I hadn't noticed the darkness until just now. My vision was so good I could see the man's ugly hairline. I could have counted the pores in his head. It was only now that I'd realized how much crazy strength I had mustered at that moment. I went over to the street light. I looked up and down the road, desperately trying to figure out where I was. Oh no. This was the one road connecting Hinamizawa to the town. We were unbelievably far from Sadako's house. Had the two of us really run so far a distance? My surprise at that was accompanied by the knowledge of the miraculous fact that despite running so far and making so much noise, we hadn't come across anybody at all. There was a long way between here and the ambush location where I dug the hole. Huh.
The one road. You know the road that connects... What else happens on the road?
The road that Tomatake Flash got killed on?
Same road.
Also the same
Same road.
Is this the Oyashiro-sama curse road? Is this the Oyashiro-sama curse road?
Seems that way, right?
The curse? It's real! He wants your souls! You know the mummy ride at Universal? There was a long way between here and the ambush location I dug the hole. There was no way I could carry a body that far. Wait, aside from that, the bike the man took here was still lying in the middle of the path. That would be an issue. The police could tell whose motorcycle it was by looking at its license plate. And they wouldn't just leave it at that. Thankfully, the corpse was in a dark forest. In terms of urgency, dealing with the bike would come first, and I wanted to get the shovel back from where I'd left it next to the hole. I shouldn't drag the body there. I would have to deal with it right here. Fortunately, the ground was like mud from the downpour, and the more sludgy here than where I was before. I might be able to dig a grave quickly here. And of course, my bicycle was still over where I'd left it too. It still wasn't over. Homicide had only been half of my goal. The other half would be just as important as the first. I would completely hide the body, not allowing beginning to happen. Whatever. I would erase this man like he'd never existed.
Pretty sure on average, you add or replace a word on every single page.
It evens out.
On
It
every
evens
single
out.
page. It's not evening out.
It evens out.
It's not evening out.
Ryukishi intended for his works to be read by me. And intended for me
100%.
to change a couple of words when I see fit.
That's true. That's why Rikishi plays with us.
Yeah. I would erase the man like he never existed, and regain the peaceful times we had before. I bent my head backwards and calmed my mind even further. The big water droplets struck my brow mercilessly. They were actually quite comfortable, and for a while I let my desire have its way. After confirming that it was sharp again, I started running through the rain. The motorcycle was in the grass at the roadside. Considering how it looked, pelted with rain and covered in mud, it actually seemed like it had been lying there for a very long time. The plan was to drop the motorcycle into the swamp. The swamp was a bit of a walk from here. I lifted the bike up. I didn't think it would be so heavy. I was a little surprised. But once I had it upright, it was fairly easy to roll it along. Still, pushing this thing all the way to the swamp was not really something I wanted to do. I could no longer ignore my exhaustion, and it warned me numerous times how far away the swamp was. This motorcycle. I wonder if I could ride it well enough. Once I got it going, it would basically be the same as a bicycle. Wouldn't it get me out of the swamp quickly? A plan suggested by my exhaustion. The anxiety at getting on a motorcycle for the first time withdrew. I turned the key, and then you just kick this pedal, right? Yeah. It's on. And then I gripped the handlebars, first the right, then the left. Ooh-ah! Maybe I twisted them a bit too much. The bike lurched and I did a wheelie like an angry horse. I lost it for a second, but it was just a problem of how much more torque to apply. Let's try that again. This time slowly, gently. That time it went well. It was strange to be on a two-wheeled vehicle that would go even if I didn't pedal. Very odd, but I got used to it quickly. Mion once told me you could get a scooter license within a day, and she was clearly right. This was pretty easy. I needed to throw the metal bat in the swamp too, but I didn't know how I would pack the bat onto the motorcycle. Without much of another choice, I stuffed it into the back of my shirt, feeling like a ninja carrying a katana. If I put the tip down the seat of my pants and hunched over, it wouldn't fall out. I got back onto the bike, and this time got going without any difficulty. I carefully pressed the button labeled light, and a rather strong light came on, illuminating the way forward. I probably really shouldn't have turned it on, but I didn't have any way of seeing at this point, and had zero confidence I could ride through this darkness.
Could you imagine just seeing, like, rain-soaked, clearly exhausted, bloody, with a bat on a random motorcycle Keiichi? In, like, the middle of the night. In the middle of the rain.
Sight, right? You kind of like watching Brenna walk around with a hatchet,
Yeah.
giggling to herself,
Yeah.
like she does fairly often for some reason.
As the rain came down on me, I maintained a precarious balance and inched my way towards the swamp. Along the way, I ran across a few people who seemed to be returning from the festival, but none of them had any interest in me. They were either all soaked through with the rain and hurrying on their way home, or they had their umbrellas low and their heads down. Yesterday, I might have been wary of even these passerbyers, but right now, it didn't seem to be much cause for concern. In fact, it would probably be less suspicious to be riding out in the open like this instead of sneaking around. More and more, though, as I started to think that idea is naive, brought on by my own exhausted state. I climbed a steep hill. On a bike, the hill would have put me out of breath, but I had to just accelerate a little bit to climb the entire thing. Motorcycles sure are convenient. For a moment, its lights illuminated a sign I passed by it. Or before I passed by it. Onigafuchi Swamp. Good children do not play around here. Still, it wasn't like the way of the swamp was cordoned off by a metal fence or anything. Parents and teachers will get mad at you if they found out you were playing at the swamp, but some of the bad kids in my class apparently snuck out here to see the giant crayfish in the place.
Elden Ring?
They talked about it before, how they'd just go to the candy shop, buy some pickled squid, and then just tie it to a fishing line and throw it, and all the crayfish would come running. Once I got to the bank, there was a tiny ritual shrine and traditional ropes on one of the trees. Someone's gonna be here, and I'm gonna, like, scream. And, as it swallowed the downpour whole, the blackened swamp had waited for me. If I slammed on the accelerator, from the cliff-like stop I was on now, the thing would fly straight into the middle of the swamp. I had to be careful not to fall with it. If I drowned and disappeared, man, what a stupid ghost story that would be. On the night of the Watanagashi, Sadako's uncle's corpse was found in a thicket by the road leading to town, and Keiichi Mayabara went missing. People would whisper that I had been demoned away. The 5th year's curse would be a half-baked one. I got off the bike and twisted the accelerator as hard as I could. I let go just when it seemed like it would drag me forward. The bike shot off the cliff and was swallowed down into the swamp, leaving a far fainter splash than I'd imagined. Its surface was humbling by the downpour. Its surface was being pummeled by the downpour, and the muddy, filthy water was flowing into it. I couldn't even make out the motorbike I'd just thrown in there. It was pretty heavy after all. It would be quickly engulfed by the soft mud at the bottom of the swamp, and it would be pulled deeper and deeper until it reached hell itself. I felt no reluctance whatsoever in throwing the man's motorbike down to the land of the demons, but I did have a tinge of regret when I did it with Satoshi's bat. The muddied water washed off the gore sticking to it, and it sunk easily. That gore touched his back.
Yeah.
He put like Satoshi's and Sadako's
He
uncle's
stuck it
like
down his
brain
back.
matter on his back. And like his skull and like skin and like hair. He's got that on his back now.
Yeah.
How is he ever gonna wear these clothes again?
I had sort of shared today's events with Satoshi, so I wanted to give him a quiet place to stay. That's how I felt. I started to feel more like returning it to its locker from before, so that I could continue to keep watch over Sadako. Satoshi, I probably, well, misunderstood you. Satoshi listened quietly, without nodding. I'm absolutely convinced now. You were the one who beat your aunt to death last year and saved Sadako. I always scorned you and called you a coward who ran away, but I was wrong. To the rest of the world, some deviant was behind that incident, but I know that was something you did for her. And then you disappeared. You finally got back that peace and lost it within days. So, I swear to you that I will live life to the fullest from now on. Live it enough for the both of us.
I'm loving Keiichi and Satoshi's bromance in this chapter.
I will live on through this week. This day never happened.
As though. Live
Oh.
on as though.
What? I will live on as though this week, this day never happened. But I will never forget this short time we shared together for as long as I live. I didn't know what expression Satoshi made as he listened, but as someone who had protected the same girl, I felt he had smiled and given me his blessing. And then, my hand moved of its own accord, and the bat I had hesitate to throw away.
I hesitated.
Same difference, pal!
I had hesitate?
Close enough.
You said I had hesitate. Come on.
Close enough.
It's close enough.
Oh, it's
And then,
not.
my hand moved of its own accord, and the bat I had hesitated to throw away left my hand and flew through the air. It traveled its parabolic path, spinning all the while, and the swamp absorbed it without a sound. There weren't even any ripples when it hit the surface. That surface was tempestuous because of the downpour, and the bat was long gone. For a moment, I regretted having thrown it, but I realized that it might have been what Satoshi had wanted. You're right. I still can't let myself give in to emotion just yet. I would return for my shovel, get on my bike, dig a hole to hide the body, and bury it. It seemed like a simple sequence of events, but I felt extremely exhausted, and I had to do it all tonight. Satoshi left me with the only advice that I needed to finish this up soon, then fell silent for eternity, and disappeared at the bottom of the demon's abyss. I returned to the path I had ambushed her uncle on. My bike was hidden, sleepy in the brush. I stood it back up. My whole body felt heavy, but I needed to finish by the end of the day, even if I had to whip myself to do it. Oh, I forgot something. I didn't just come here for my bike. The shovel was here too. Not good. I was zoning out. Every once in a while, if I let my guard down, my vision would almost go black. Pull yourself together, Keiichi Mayabara. It's still not over.
He's gonna just pass out in the woods.
I went into the grove of trees and looked for the hole which I'd hidden the shovel. Unfortunately, I had hidden it deep in the forest, not wanting it to be seen. And now everything was black in the night and I couldn't see anything anymore. I reawakened my fading consciousness and realized just how big this annoyance really was. Wait, you can't be serious. The sweat the rain washed away before me came back up to my skin. Deep, deep in the forest where the streetlights could never reach. The fact that it would be so pitch black had been completely uncalculated. With this much darkness, even if I had been able to kill him right away like I'd planned, I didn't know if I could still buried him here without a problem. What should I do? I simply couldn't find the shovel tonight. If I forced myself to go deep into the forest, I'd lose even my sense of direction and might actually get lost in there. That might have been an exaggeration, but it was fully possible I'd trip over a tree root and sprain a muscle. Oh right, my house's storage room. There was another shovel there, the same fold-up kind. Couldn't I go back to the house, get the shovel, and give up on finding the shovel tonight? It's not as though the name Mayabara is written on the shovel. But it seemed like an unusual item from an import variety store, made in another country, so I didn't want to leave that shovel here. But in this darkness, I couldn't do anything.
He didn't bring, like, a flashlight?
You didn't think about it.
Anything? I should give up and go back to the storage room. And there was an electric lantern in there. If I used that for light, I could go look for it. But it was so extremely dark, could I light the way with just the lantern? The light of the lantern in this dark night. I couldn't discard the possibility of it drawing eyes. And I doubted if I could find the shovel with the lantern's feeble light. Besides, I had left the body there for a pretty long time already. My sense of fear, dulled through excessive exhaustion, finally reared its ugly head. Anyway, for now the most important thing was to hide the body. A shovel being found wasn't a big deal, but a corpse? If they found that, I'd shared the same fate as Satoshi. First, I'd go back to the storage room at home. Then I'd get the lantern. Now it's gotten this dark, I might still need the light to dig the hole for the body too. And I'd get the other shovel. And then I'd deal with the body first thing. Once that was done, I'd come back here, find the shovel, and bring it back. I had to do at least that much, but I was so tired. But complaining was getting me nowhere. If I started getting complacent now, everything would have been for naught. At some point, I had sat down. I gritted my teeth and endured lifting my heavy hips. The night was young. Of all the nights I'd experienced, none had ever been this long. When would it all end? The night was young.
He actually did
Of
it.
the pickle hour. How you feeling?
He actually
Lift
did
my
it.
boy up.
He actually did it.
He actually did it.
He
Killed
didn't like meme it. He
Sadako's uncle.
He like actually killed. Is that the second intermission in this chat?
Sure.
He actually fucking killed him, dude.
Yeah.
Like the madman actually did it.
Yeah.
Homie actually murdered a person.
Yeah.
Who's gonna find the body?
Is anybody gonna find the body?
And why is it gonna be Sadako?
Sadako's gonna find the body. How's Sadako gonna find the body?
She's gonna be doing her weird Sadako trap making bullshit and come across her
Is
dead
that the
uncle.
same mountain? He was like,
No, it's at the crossroads. It's not the same mountain. I'm just saying that to say that, you know. Toмотake Flash is gonna find the body. And
they're gonna die.
They're
right
gonna
next to it.
yeah, they're gonna kill him right next to it.
All right then. Thank you for joining
He-
us for this.
Actually did it.
Yeah.
He
pickle hour.
he picklebacked him, dude.
Everybody, you can stop drinking the pickle juice now.